roles of advocates, arguing complex cases grounded in human rights principles before a distinguished panel of judges. Through this process, they gain invaluable insights into the challenges and intricacies of defending rights in real-world scenarios. This year's competition, as was said, we are proud to welcome teams from universities across Africa to argue a case before a simulated African Court on Human and People's Rights. So the hypothetical case focuses, as was said, on the theme of protecting the fundamental human rights of migrants and their families. This is timely and critical subject, reflecting global realities and emphasizing the importance of safeguarding the rights of one of the most vulnerable groups in our society. The case is a dispute between the Center for Migration Studies, it was said, and the Republic of Equatorial, and it raises complex issues surrounding migration, border security, and human rights violations. And it challenges participants to grapple with the application of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights and other international instruments in addressing the rights of migrants amidst national security and also economic consideration. The finalists for this year are two remarkable teams, the University of the Gambia and the University of Calabar, Nigeria. Well, and I would say again, congratulations to the University of the Gambia. Just to show how fair this competition is, since we went international, this is the first time that the University of Gambia is actually going to the finals. It was won by other universities before. So the National Human Rights Commission is a very fair institution. We don't discriminate. And I wish you luck, University of Calabar as well. Thank you. We said Gambia and the University of Calabar are the finalists. And really, I must say, it took you, this was a long, hard preparation. You know, there were, preliminary rounds, you had quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. So we say kudos to you for your dedication and brilliance that brought you to this stage. And we look forward to witnessing your arguments as you strive for victory in this competition. Just to remind you that this event would not have been possible without the support of our partners. We really count on you. And again, I want to emphasize the support that was given to us by IOM. You know that they are very passionate about the theme of this Moot, is migration. So IOM, International Office of Migration, supported us, and of course, UNICEF, the EU, and Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, for their technical and financial contribution, not only to this Moot court, and some of their staff are even going to be judges, just to tell you that they have been with us throughout this journey. And also their support to the justice and rule of law sector. They have really been friends of the Gambia. And your commitment to human rights, it's great. And we are deeply grateful for this partnership. And of course, the University of the Gambia, I don't know who kidnapped the professor, Opadere, but he was supposed to be at the University of the Gambia, whose collaboration, we started this with collaboration with the university. It has been instrumental in organizing this competition. And of course, to the faculty members, the administration of the university. And of course, to our judges who are going to preside over this debate. Lastly, to all the participants, your passion for justice and human rights is inspiring. Whether you live here today as winners or not, know that you have already accomplished something extraordinary. You are the future of human rights advocacy, and your efforts today will undoubtedly shape a brighter tomorrow. So I wish you all the best of luck, and I also thank the participants for being here with us today, and happy International Human Rights Day for all. Human rights is everybody's business, and we need to celebrate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I begin from where you ended. Human coordinator and all the representatives of the UN family, President of the Gambia Bar Association, dear judges, dear participants and finalists, distinguished guests, members of the press, good morning to everyone. It is really my pleasure to be at your side today to participate in the final of the 5th edition of Sir Dada Kairaba International Human Rights Moot Competition 2024 and celebrate together International Human Rights Day. I would like, on behalf of my ambassador and the whole EU team, to underline that we are glad as EU to be once again, I think for the 3rd time, a partner, to be a part of this year's edition. Beyond, and I think it has been pointed out, the EU is also a long-standing partner of the National Human Rights Commission in different areas, and overall we are supporting actively the Gambia's agenda regarding democratic reforms, the rule of law, good governance, and last but not least, of course, protecting and promoting human rights. Supporting indeed democratic transition and strong institutions is, beside our active support for green, inclusive social, economic development, at the very heart of our partnership, and can I say, as a friend of everyone, as a friendship with the Gambia. So human rights issues often need to be looked at, linked to other dimensions, be they legal, economic, social, you name it. Human rights issues are indeed often at the intersection of multifaceted interests and issues. Therefore, all initiatives that stimulate in-depth reflections and debates around human rights topics to ensure a global understanding of a key importance for political and civil society actors as well as for society altogether. It is only through a culture of informed democratic deliberations that a society can build a consensus and shape approaches that uphold principles, values that will eventually translate into individual rights. So once again, let me commend the National Human Rights Commission and all the partners and competitors and the judges who are endowed with a significant responsibility today. In this context, allow me just a more personal note. Actually, the Sir Dada Jara competition strikes a chord with me because exactly 10 years ago, I was also inspired by other examples. I launched and organized with my colleagues a Moot competition on human rights when I was posted in another country, Haiti it was. And this competition at the time lived on for many editions afterwards and was actually replicated by many other organizations. So there were several Moot competitions in that country that flourished. And this really is something very positive, because I think that there can never be too many opportunities to put human rights at the fore and hold constructive discussions around them involving the youth of a nation. The theme that has been chosen for this year, migration and its related human rights implication, is very topical, of course. It's of a particular relevance for the Gambia and many other countries, also in the broader South African regions. So let me say a few words to comment on this topic from an EU perspective. Migration, with its various social, economic, human rights and geopolitical aspects, is complex and at times also irritating, let's be honest. irritating or fruitful partnership we have with the Gambia, in particular when it comes to organizing the return of some Gambian citizens that have exhausted their legal rights to stay in certain European countries. Therefore, we believe that a balanced and fair approach is both essential and serving Gambians and European interests in the long run. The EU has consistently engaged with its partners to address all dimensions of migration: the root causes, the fight against migrant smuggling, and promoting legal pathways. The EU is committed in carrying on with this multidimensional approach in good cooperation with the Gambian authorities and all other national actors. To finish these remarks, I will just flag two aspects, for example, of this political approach. First, the Pact on Migration and Asylum that entered into force in June of this year, and that creates a common European system that sets up a new process for managing migration. Second, and maybe more importantly, a major part of the EU cooperation is focused on addressing indeed the root causes of migration and working with the Gambia to organize economic opportunities on the ground, in particular for the youth to thrive. The EU, the European Union, is one of the Gambia's main partners in fighting poverty and in development cooperation. We have allocated more than 500 million euros since 2017, so between 2017 and 2024. So I will not be any longer, as this is not my place for me to participate in the Moot competition by making some sort of oral argument, but rather listen with a lot of interest to the finalists that I want once again to congratulate for their passionate investment and dedication. And so I wish everyone the best of luck. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Brigandi.
Do this moot court exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, before all, I wish to acknowledge the very distinguished legacy of the late President Sir Dawda Jawara for his work on the Banjul Charter, but also who is the president who has signed the Gambia to the United Nations back in 1965. And I'm very pleased and honored to give this speech here in a conference center that bears his name. The International Human Rights Day, celebrated annually on December 10th, commemorates the adoption of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. I am therefore very pleased to join you in celebrating our shared commitment to human rights as we celebrate Human Rights Day 24 under the topic, Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now. Today, we reflect on the fundamental rights that belong to every individual, and we recognize the vital role of young people, particularly students, in shaping a future grounded in equality, in justice, and in dignity for all. I really commend and salute the National Human Rights Commission for organizing this Moot Court competition. The Moot competition is a vital platform for students across West Africa to engage with human rights issues and empowers the next generation of lawyers to become human rights champions. I also take note of this year's Moot competition subject, which is protecting the fundamental rights of migrants and of their families. This is very important and pertinent and relevant to the Gambia due to the current context and the reality we face in the country and in the region at large. A human rights approach to migration governance is critical to ensure the protection of human rights and of all migrants and of their families. The approach recognizes migrants as right holders and is guided by the fundamental principle of equality, non-discrimination, participation, inclusion, accountability, and rule of law enshrined in relevant human rights instruments. And actually, I prefer personally the term not migrant, but people on the move. The Moot Court case scenario also reflects the realities faced by countless children on the move, including unaccompanied and separated children and their families around the world. Therefore, let this Moot Court inspire us to strengthen our collective effort in safeguarding the rights of children, but also their families to ensure that their voices are heard, their dignity upheld, and their future protected. I also extend a special commendation to the University of the Gambia, especially the law school, which is doing an exceptional work in preparing future lawyers, advocates, equipped to advocate, the promotion and protection of human rights and dedicated to shape a just and equitable society ahead of the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations in the Gambia is committed to supporting the government, the National Human Rights Commission, and all our partners toward ensuring human rights are universally respected and protected as reflected in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other human rights instruments. I take this opportunity to appreciate the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, OHCHR, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, and UNICEF, as well as the European Union delegation here in the Gambia, for the technical and financial support in the realization of today's Moot competition. The mandate of all these development partners ensure that the protection of the people on the move, of migrants, including children, girls, and underrepresented persons, by advocating for their rights, providing essential support, and holding government accountable to uphold international standards of safety, dignity, and well-being during migration. Finally, please allow me to speak directly to the student present. You are the next generation of leaders, of lawyers, and advocates. You are aptly positioned to advocate for fairness, for justice, equality, and dignity for all. I congratulate you for your participation in this Moot competition. And regardless of the outcome, each of you is a winner, for you have demonstrated leadership, commitment, knowledge, courage to engage with critical human rights issues. I wish you the best of luck to all the participants, but also may the best argument win. I'm going to stay a little bit after the opening ceremony to watch the Moot Court. I was saying to my colleague, the chairperson, Juf, to see if you're going to wear the robes and the wig, because that's very interesting to see for me. So again, best of luck, and may the best argumentation win. I wish you all a happy Human Rights Day. It's a commemoration. It's not a celebration per se. There are many human rights challenges around the world, as we see, as we have witnessed. We are blessed in the Gambia that we don't face such challenges that we have in other places of the world. And I really look forward to an exciting Moot Court competition. So congratulations to you all, and thank you for your attention.
The chairman and my learned senior of the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, and commissioners here present, UN resident coordinator, European Union resident representative, the Dean, Faculty of Law, Gambia, university students, the family of late Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, first President of the Republic of the Gambia. I join the chairman in recognizing the extraordinary legacy of this great man. And we pray that his soul continues to rest in peace. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is with honor and excitement that I address you this morning on the occasion of the 5th edition of the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara International Human Rights Moot competition. Today we celebrate the finalists of this prestigious competition and commemorate at the same time International Human Rights Day. focusing on the theme protecting the fundamental human rights of migrants and their families. The theme is timely. In an increasingly connected world, the plight of migrants and their families is a pressing concern that demands our collective attention and action. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as we've already heard, adopted in 1948, asserts that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Yet for many migrants, this fundamental principle remains an unfulfilled promise. The declaration, though not specifically focused on migrants, applies to all individuals, including migrants, and guarantees fundamental rights such as right to life, liberty, and security. The Gambia is a signatory to international instruments. Several of these, I'll just cite some of them. 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 Protocol, which commits the country to protecting individuals fleeing from persecution, conflict, and violence in their home countries. Other instruments include the International Labour Organization Convention of number 97, this Migration for Employment, which establishes standards for the treatment of migrant workers in employment. There are several others. International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ensuring that protection of civil and political rights for all individuals, including migrants. The International Covenants on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, 1966. The Covenant on Human Rights, on the Rights of the Child of 1989, which ensures the protection of children's rights, including those of migrant children, and emphasizes the importance of family unity. The Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel and Inhumane Treatment or Punishment of 1984, which prohibits torture and other forms of ill treatment which are particularly relevant for migrants who may be vulnerable to such abuses. The African Charter on Human and People's Rights, 1981, as we know, already referred to as a regional instrument which applies to all individuals within the AU, including migrants, and guarantees a range of human rights. There's also the International Convention on the Protection of the Rights of All Migrant Workers and their members of their family of 1990. Now, this is the most comprehensive international treaty on the rights of migrant workers and their families. It sets international standards for the treatment, welfare, and rights of migrant workers, regardless of their status. Its key provisions include the right to leave any state, the right to protection against torture, inhumane treatment in detention, and the right to family visits during imprisonment. There's a whole host of them. There's another one, regional instrument, ECOWAS Free Movement Protocol and the Kampala Conventions. We also have the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration, GCM. Now, this is a landmark intergovernmental agreement aimed at improving the governance of migration and addressing the challenges associated with it. Adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10, 2018, in Marrakesh, Morocco, the GCM is the first intergovernmental negotiated agreement to cover all dimensions of international migration in a holistic and comprehensive manner. It provides a comprehensive framework for international cooperation on migration, emphasizing the protection of the rights of migrants and promoting safe migration practices. It is a non-binding agreement which does not create legal obligations for states, but it serves as a framework for international cooperation and policy making, emphasizing the importance of respecting and protecting these human rights. Among the several objectives outlined, I just wish to mention a few, are to ensure that they have access to essential services such as healthcare, education, housing, and other measures to eliminate discrimination, racism, xenophobia, intolerance against migrants, etc. And to promote the social inclusion in host communities. By implementing GCM, therefore, states can work together to create a more humane and orderly migration system that benefits both migrants and host communities. It provides a comprehensive menu of options for states to select policy measures that address the most pressing issues related to migration. Now, in the Gambia, there are several laws and frameworks in place to protect migrants and their families. The Refugee Act of 2001, which establishes a comprehensive system for the recognition and protection of refugees in the Gambia. It aligns with international standards, ensuring that individuals seeking asylum are afforded the rights and protections mandated by global conventions, which I have already mentioned. We know that when countries such as the Gambia sign treaties or conventions abroad, there's an obligation to come back and domesticate into law so that a citizen can enjoy. So hence the need to go through all of that. Now, the Gambia's national referral mechanism was also launched in August 2021. It's a comprehensive framework that outlines the roles and obligations of the state and non-state actors to protect and promote the rights of vulnerable migrants, including victims of trafficking. Some of the challenges. Some of the challenges is I feel other people want to join the conversation. Some of the challenges faced in implementation include state policies and practices which tend to focus on security and criminalization of irregular migration, can sometimes restrict migrants' access to justice and protection. We find significant gaps in enforcement between the formal recognition of migrants' rights in international instruments and their actual translation into domestic law and proper application at the local level. Distinguished guests, students, finalists, the world is currently witnessing unprecedented levels of migration. More people than ever before live in countries other than the ones in which they were born. According to the UN in 2020, there were approximately 281 million international migrants, accounting for 3.6% of the global population. Migrants sometimes embark on perilous journeys in search of safety, better opportunities, which they believe will bring them brighter future for themselves and their families. The path to these aspirations are often fraught with challenges, including ones that we have already mentioned, violation of their human rights. Lack of legal documentation renders many migrants vulnerable to abuse and unable to access essential services. They encounter prejudice and hostility in host countries. Xenophobic rhetoric and policies marginalize them, creating a climate of fear and exclusion. As I said, limited legal resource often leaves them exposed to exploitation and abuse, trafficking, as mentioned earlier, particularly those in irregular situations. Many cannot have access to essential services. The right to family unity is a fundamental human right and must be protected. Yet stringent immigration policies often result in the separation of families, causing profound emotional and psychological distress. Robust legal framework and enforcement mechanisms are therefore essential to safeguard their rights. We stand as a crossroads, facing urgent need to address the challenges that I have highlighted. As aspiring legal professionals, you, students and finalists, can play a vital role in advocating for justice, equality, and human rights for all to effect meaningful change in several areas. Provision of pro bono legal services. I believe universities have legal clinics, etc. For migrants and their families, this could be offered. Advocate for fair and humane migration policies and respect for rights, as well as policy reforms that create safe legal pathways for migration and ensure access to justice and essential services for all. You can also engage in public education campaigns to combat xenophobia and promote understanding and solidarity with migrants. If one is not a migrant, one knows one, at least one is related to one or knows one or has a friend. So I think I can continue. Just can I try to ignore it? It's very difficult. So let us reaffirm our commitment to upholding the dignity and rights of all individuals, regardless of their origin, destination, or status. Briefly, I can't go without saying this. Today is the last day of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which is an annual international campaign that runs from November 25th, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, to December the 10th, today, Human Rights Day. It aims to raise awareness and galvanize action and end violence against women and girls. I mean all forms of violence against women and girls, for women's rights are human rights. Distinguished students, the journey to the final has been an arduous, exhilarating one, no doubt for you. You have spent countless hours conducting research on case law, crafting persuasive arguments, and honoring and honing your advocacy skills. Each round has no doubt presented for you new challenges and opportunities for growth. As finalists, you have demonstrated impressive legal acumen and resilience getting this far, setting yourselves apart as future leaders in the legal profession. Mooting is more than just a competition. It is an educational experience that fosters critical thinking, enhances your public speaking skills, and builds your teamwork spirit. It also provides a platform for you aspiring lawyers to practice and refine your skills in a simulated courtroom environment. Through mooting, you have learned to think on your feet, as we do, and we say as lawyers, to anticipate counter-arguments and to articulate your points with clarity and confidence. So as you step into the final, remember that the essence of mooting lies not in the victory, but in the pursuit of excellence. Embrace the spirit of healthy competition, where mutual respect and collegiality prevail. Regardless of the outcome, each of you has already achieved a significant win. Your participation in this competition reflects not only your commitment to the rule of law and passion for justice, but also your dedication, hard work, and brilliance displayed by each of you so far. In conclusion, the right to family is a fundamental human right, as I said, and must be protected. Protecting fundamental human rights of migrants and their families is a moral and legal imperative. As we commemorate International Human Rights Day, let us renew our commitment to this. I encourage you as future leaders in the profession to champion human rights in general, and in particular, the rights of migrants, with compassion, determination, and integrity. Remember your dedication to... Now they're speaking louder than me. I'm just concluding. Remember your dedication to this cause can transform lives, contribute to a more just and humane world. Today we can ensure that the promise of universal human rights becomes a reality for all. Thank you, and may we continue.
Just a notice, just maybe...
Thank you, and may we continue to strive to uphold the dignity and rights of every human being. Happy International Women's Day. I declare the Moot competition open. Thank you very much.